Hi, I'm Liz Creasman. I am a recreational and yoga therapist at the Sheltering Arms Midtown location in our Club Rec program. This is a 20-minute breathing workshop to talk about how to breathe more effectively. Let's start by getting grounded. Finding a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. It may be reclined today. Making any physical adjustments or adjustments to clothing to make yourself comfortable. Grounding both feet on the ground if that's available, and finding a soft gaze or closing the eyes. For a few moments, increase your awareness of the breath, noticing where the breath is traveling within the body. Notice any sensations that join the breath, the pace, the temperature, the texture. Trace the path of the breath within the body, noticing anywhere the breath tends to linger, anywhere that feels stuck or still. And notice where the breath is free flowing. As you're ready, blink the eyes open if you had them shut. And now we'll talk a little bit about our nervous systems. So we have our parasympathetic nervous system, which is known as our rest and digest system. We also have the sympathetic nervous system, which tends to engage in fight or flight. Oftentimes when we sustain an injury, we end up in our sympathetic nervous system. We want to protect the body. We want to protect our emotions and our mind and how we function. And sometimes that can be limiting. Our parasympathetic nervous system reassures us that we are safe. So oftentimes to engage these intentionally, the parasympathetic nervous system will have lengthened exhales, while the sympathetic nervous system would have increased inhales. So the sympathetic nervous system serves a great purpose of waking us up and making us feel a little bit more alert. And there are some situations that call for that. But we also want to be able to engage that parasympathetic nervous system to reassure our sense of safety. This also comes into play in our 3 diaphragm method of breathing. So we often think about our thoracic diaphragm, the one in our rib cage, that we generally think about lowering with an inhale when we fill our lungs with breath, and then releasing with the exhale and coming back to neutral. We have a lot more movement that happens in our breath when we're breathing effectively and engaging the muscles to encourage those deep breaths. So this involves our cervical diaphragm up by our collarbone that uses muscles in our shoulders and our neck and our chest. We also have the pelvic floor, which is the diaphragm. That should also move with the breath. So we'll work on a little bit of mobility for these areas and notice how they affect our inhales and our exhales. So moving into this 3 diaphragm or 3-part breathing, finding that comfortable seat again. Notice where the breath is traveling within the body and feel free to close the eyes or find that soft gaze. Bringing your awareness inward. Now we'll begin to deepen the breath. So with the inhale, sending the breath into the belly, allow the belly to rise and fall softly. So here we think about filling the pelvic floor diaphragm, so the pelvic floor will release or come down. And then as we exhale, it comes back to neutral. With the next inhale, fill the belly, then allow the rib cage to expand in all directions. So now the pelvic floor diaphragm will lower, as well as the thoracic diaphragm, that diaphragm in the rib cage. So thinking of those lowering on the inhale and then returning to neutral on the exhale. Now we'll deepen the breath once more. So sending the breath into the belly, let the belly rise, that pelvic floor lower, the rib cage expands, so that thoracic diaphragm expands and lowers. And then we'll notice the cervical diaphragm gently lift. So we notice that expansion in the chest so that the lungs can fully expand. And the exhale, release. So on the release, that exhale, the cervical diaphragm returns to neutral or lowers. The pelvic floor and the thoracic diaphragm return to neutral or slightly lift. Taking a few more breaths in this way. So an inhale, the belly rises, rib cage expands, collarbone lifts. Exhale, release. The pelvic floor, the thoracic diaphragm, and the cervical diaphragm return to neutral. Now returning the breath to a natural rhythm. And now we're going to break down our cat and cow pose. So we will remain seated for this posture, for this exercise. You could also take this in a tabletop or hands and knees posture, but we're focusing on pressing the back and then opening through the chest and the front body. And so we'll start with breaking it down, beginning with the hips or with the pelvis. So we're doing pelvic tilts. So we want to think on the exhale, tucking the pelvis forward. So thinking, drawing the belly button back towards the spine, and maybe even drawing the hip bones in the front body towards one another. And exhale, come to neutral. Exhale, tucking the pelvis under. Inhaling, return to neutral. Exhaling to tuck the pelvis, belly button draws back, maybe hip bones draw towards one another, and exhale, release. Now we're focused on the mid-back, that rib cage. So if you're seated in a chair, feel free to bring your back towards the chair so that it's gently resting. And then on the exhale, we're pressing the mid-back into the back of the chair. So if you are in a tabletop posture or hands and knees, you're finding that arched back like a cat stretching. And exhale, return to neutral. With the exhale, pressing back into the mid-back. Inhale, neutral, or draw the shoulders back, lift the gaze, looking up about where the wall meets the ceiling. Taking this a few more times with your breath. So exhale, pressing back. Inhaling to neutral. Exhaling, pressing back. Inhaling either to neutral or finding that arch in the back. Exhaling, pressing back. This time, inhale to that neutral spine, lengthen from the crown of the head. And now we're focusing on that, that cervical diaphragm. So with an exhale, tuck the chin and draw the shoulders forward. Then with the inhale, looking up, draw the shoulders back. So thinking of the shoulder blades wrapping across the top of the back. Stretching out, broadening the collarbone. Exhale, tuck the chin, press back through the shoulders. Inhale to look up, wrap the shoulder blades across the top of the back. Taking once more, exhale, tuck the chin, Press back through the shoulders. This time, inhale to neutral. And now we'll tie it all together. So bring the hands to the knees. On the exhale, tuck the chin, round the spine, pressing it between the shoulders, stretching the top of the back, feeling that pressure in the mid-back, maybe gently against the back of the chair, and tucking the pelvis. So the belly button's drawing in. Maybe those hip bones are drawing towards one another in the front body. Then with the inhale, lift the gaze, roll the shoulders back and down. Be mindful not to flare the rib cage, but we're finding the arch in the back. Taking this a few times with your breath. Exhale to cat, tuck the chin, round the spine, tucking the pelvis. Inhale to lift the gaze, roll the shoulders back and down. That pelvis tilts forward. Once more with your breath. Exhale, tuck the chin, round the spine. This time, inhale to your neutral spine. Roll the shoulders away from the ears. Taking a few rounds of breath. Finding ease within the inhale and exhale. Now we'll take a gentle side bend. So again, seated in your comfortable seat. We'll start with the left hand down, bring the right arm up along the ear, then lean over towards the left, press the right hip down. So finding that stretch along the side body. If this is too much on the shoulder, feel free to bring the elbow down about shoulder height. We are mainly thinking of the curve in the spine and the stretch in the side body. Taking a few comfortable breaths here. And then inhale, return to neutral. Bring the right hand to the right side. Left arm reaches up along the left ear, then reaching towards the right side of the body. Stretching the left side of the body. Again, if this is too much on the shoulder, feel free to bring the left elbow about shoulder height. Few comfortable breaths, then returning to neutral, float that left hand down. Bringing your hands to the lap, find a soft gaze or close the eyes. And now we'll return to our three-part breathing and just notice what you notice. See if there are any changes after doing a few of these mobility exercises. Notice if there was anywhere that felt stuck before and if you are able to find some expansion or some ease. Noticing where the breath is naturally flowing. Then with your next inhale, send the breath into the belly, imagining the pelvic floor filling with air. Exhale, release. To eliminate any confusion, the breath isn't actually physically going into the belly. However, with the lung expansion, it presses on our organs, lowering those diaphragms and releasing those muscles to increase some circulation and digestion. With your next inhale, the belly rises, then let the rib cage expand in all directions. So we're imagining that pelvic floor lowering and the thoracic diaphragm lowering with the inhale as the lungs fill with air. And exhale, release to neutral. So think of the pelvic floor diaphragm and the thoracic diaphragm lowering on the inhale and releasing back to neutral or lifting with the exhale. One more round at your pace. And now deepening the breath once more. So inhaling, the belly rises, the pelvic floor lowers, the rib cage expands, so the thoracic diaphragm lowers. And inhale a little deeper so that that cervical diaphragm lifts. You might notice the collarbone broadening. And exhale comfortably. Taking this 3-part breath a few times at your own pace, feeling the belly, the rib cage, then the collarbone lifts. Exhale, release. So returning to the natural rhythm of your own breath. Noticing that focusing on this deepening of the inhale allows the exhale to lengthen, which, as we discussed at the beginning, engages that parasympathetic response, allows us to rest and digest, and reassures our sense of safety. Gently blink the eyes open if you chose to close them. And I'll show one more breathing technique that's called Voloma Breath or ladder breath. And so with this breath, we want to incorporate a pause within the inhales. We'll start with pausing in the inhales and we'll end pausing with the exhales to notice the difference in the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic engagement. So begin by following the path of the breath within the body. Then begin to notice the pause between inhales and exhales and the pause before drawing another breath. Notice that it comes with ease. It's not a clenching, it's not a holding or retaining the breath. It's just a gentle pause. Now we'll begin to incorporate this pause in the inhales. So as we pause in the inhales, we are deepening the inhales to then lengthen the exhales. So we're going to think of breathing in that 3-part manner, but pausing in each of those parts. So we'll inhale about 1/3 and pause. Inhale to pause. Inhale with that full breath and pause. And then exhale, release with ease. Inhale about 1/3 to pause. Inhale to pause. Inhale to pause. And exhale, release. Taking this about twice more on your own. And then returning your breath to a natural rhythm. Noticing any changes within the breath. Noticing any changes in thought pattern or attention or awareness. And then if you'd like, we can try the pause on the exhales. So we'd inhale fully, and then exhale to a pause. Exhale, pause. Exhale, pause. And then inhale. So this naturally lengthens the inhale to engage the sympathetic nervous system which, as I said, serves a great purpose. It can wake us up and feel a little more alert. Taking about twice more at your pace. Exhaling, incorporating about 2 to 3 pauses in the exhale. Then inhaling. Returning your breath to a natural rhythm. Noticing any changes in the breath, your thought patterns, your awareness of the physical body or any emotions present. And we'll close with a short compassion meditation, repeating the following phrases silently or aloud. May all beings be happy and safe. May all beings feel free to breathe and loved. May we all find comfort in unity. Blinking your eyes open if you chose to close them. Thank you for joining me, and please return to this video anytime as a resource to ground, to find your breath, and a little ease with your inhales and exhales.